Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Yashodhanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodhanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Subhadra Mai Jaya Sudarshana Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Does anyone want to chant the prayers?
Shall I, Mother?
Yes, Mataji.
Not able to see the prayers.
Is it for everyone or just Mataji?
Now I can see, Mataji.
Okay, looks like your internet is slow, Mataji.
Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Ena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Ena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschayata Deshatarine Vande Ham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sa Jeevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Let me chant this so it's recorded and any pronunciation issues are also corrected in that format. So anyone who wants to, I request everyone before the next class, go back to the recording and understand the pronunciation of these prayers very clearly. Okay, there's very minute pronunciation issues which changes the whole context of the prayer. So request everyone to go back to the prayer recording from this class and try to make your pronunciation of these prayers very clear. Okay. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyati Deshatarine Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu, Deenabandho Jagatpate, Gopesha Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta, Namostute, Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi, Radhe Vrindavaneshwari, Vrishabhanu Sute Devi, Pranamami Haripriye. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Our class today is dedicated to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, founder Acharya of our International Society of Krishna Consciousness. Jai. Thank you, Sunita Mataji, for trying the prayers. Okay, today is a Bhakti Vriksha class. Okay, we are not going to start our chapter 1 today. We'll start it in the next class. But what we are doing is we are picking up a controversial topic or topics that are commonly discussed in spiritual life. Okay, and we'll try to discuss. So it's going to be a very interactive session. I request you to be off mute, but make sure your backgrounds are noiseless. Okay, we don't want a lot of background noise, but or whenever you want to talk, feel free to interrupt the call, put yourself off mute and talk. Okay, no silent participants, in other words, in these sessions. Okay, so today is a very interesting topic in Bhakti Vriksha first class. Maybe we'll pick up one topic every month and have a discussions like this. Okay, the topic for today is animal life versus human life. Okay, I know most of you who have been part of the previous sessions, we had some detailed discussions on this. So you'll have some idea on what this topic is about. But let's start. Let's start with a very simple question. What is your fantasy? As we are in the human life this time, in this life, but what is your fantasy? What kind of living entity you want to be? Do you want to be a bird? Some say I want to be free like a bird. Some say I want to be strong like an elephant or have a mane like a horse, right? Some say I want to dance like a peacock, right? So many fantasy, especially children or even grown-ups who have very romantic idea of what life should be. We see many people say such things. So a question to each one of you, what is your fantasy? If there's the next life, what is that you want to be?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
I want to be like a peacock.
You want to be a peacock, okay? Why?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Lata Mataji, why did you want to be a peacock?
Because it's so connected to energetic nature of God. The feathers, everything, if you see, no? What actually I studied in material life in physics, photonic band gap effect. So that effect we can see naturally created by peacock. So at this moment onwards, the great impression made in my heart, and I want
I
to
see.
be. And
Okay. Okay. Any other thoughts? What's your fantasy? What was that?
I want to be a human.
Human. You want to be a human back again. Okay, nice.
I want to be a human back again.
Okay.
Because that way I would get to rectify or go back, find ways to reach Godhead faster. Because
Okay.
you already have developed a taste in this birth. So definitely some of it will be carried forward to next birth. So why not?
Why not? Any other thoughts, fantasies, desires?
I don't want to be reborn. But I know it's difficult to Goloka in this Janma itself.
Okay.
But yes, if I am reborn, I always fantasize to sing very well, that I have a good voice. Frankly, of late, my fetish is more that I should be able to sing Harinama very well, that people get mesmerized. I know it's a very high level, what do you say, ambition, and I'm not even So see, today's prayer also I didn't say properly.
Mm.
Okay.
It's okay. We will evolve from that.
Yes.
Okay. So you want to be
That's
a singer,
all
but
good.
what kind of life you want? Do you want to be a bird that sings nicely, or what kind of living entity you want to be if
I
you want
want
to
to be
sing?
human because that's what I've understood in Bhagavad Gita class, that this is nearest to God, this
Mm,
is closest that you can very easily get to.
mm. Okay.
Mm,
Anita
yeah.
Mataji says, I do not want to take birth, Mataji, but if got again, want to become Krishna conscious devotee to a deeper level so that outside environment cannot be blocker towards Krishna consciousness. Okay, so you want to be born as a human again. Any other ideas? Any other, anybody else has a different answer?
Yeah, I leave it to Krishna.
You
I
want
don't
to
have.
be with Krishna, so you don't want to be reborn, in other words.
No, no. I mean, I just leave it to Krishna, whatever he
Leave
wants,
it to Krishna. Okay. Okay. Okay.
because it's not in my thing hand.
Okay. So all good answers. Okay. Whatever answers you have given, it's come from your perception of what you have seen, lived through so far. So most of you said, I want to have a human life again, right? Most of you said that. Now let's understand what's the difference of being a human versus an animal. Animal includes the whole, not just animal, not just cats, dogs. It includes the whole variety of trees, insects, worms, bacteria, the whole non-human part of living entity. Okay, even trees and all that. So we're talking about animal life and versus a human life. So let's understand then, is a human life really that superior versus an animal life? Isn't animal life actually very easy? There's no sins. Whatever they do, there's no sins. They can eat whatever they want, right? There's no responsibilities. There's no earning income. There's no, attention of building families and building house for them. They're paying all these EMIs. So isn't an animal life actually much more easier than a human life? Shouldn't we aspire to be an animal then?
It isn't, Mataji. They also struggle a lot to get their food. They
Okay.
don't live in the kind of a comfort we are in. They go through bushes, thorns.
So you're saying human life is more comfortable than that of animal life.
Yeah, I feel so,
But I feel
yes.
monkeys get their food very easily. They just have to climb some tree, pluck and eat.
I mean, I'm looking at the rest of the species. I know some of them can really pull it out like monkey and all that.
Uh-huh.
If you look at the worms, somebody can stamp on you, somebody can, I mean, I'm sure even they may be going through a fear like when they see a human being, we may be
Mm.
looking like giants for them. They may be in fear. We don't know their feelings.
Mm. Okay, good thought. Any other thought? Anyone else believes animal life is actually easier than human life?
No,
No.
I think human life is good, because animal life and human life, we do
Mm.
the same thing,
Mm.
eat, mate, whatever it is. But one thing is, they don't pray.
They
I
don't
mean,
pray. Yes.
yeah, the
Yes.
feel that's the only difference I find.
Mm.
Given that
Pretty much.
intelligence to pray,
Yes. Yes.
yeah,
That's a very
that's
spot on
all.
answer. That's a very spot on
All.
answer. So there's a mile of difference between animal and human life. But one thing that stands out is, as defined, the crux of this whole session that we are having today is, as a human, we are able to understand the Lord. Right? Is it easy to understand the Lord? Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 3 says, Manushanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye, yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam veti tatvataha. So Krishna is saying, out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. Right? So Krishna is saying it's not actually easy to understand him. There are many people who are following different paths. Okay. But to even pick up these different paths to understand Krishna, whether it's Jnana Yoga, or Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, or it's Karma Yoga, or we follow the path of Bhakti Yoga, to even aspire to take any of these paths to understand Krishna, one must have one basic quality, that they must be a human being. An animal can never aspire to understand the Lord. They can not never have that intelligence to understand the Lord, right? But a human can have that intelligence. They can start asking questions, like Mataji very nicely said, Gita Mataji, right? But to even start asking these questions, one has to have the first quality of being a human. Now, even within human, it's not easy to understand Krishna. Krishna is saying only a few thousands. Our population is in billion, but of the billion, a few thousands will try to understand Krishna. And of the few thousands, some few might achieve perfection. And only one or few, hardly one, will understand Krishna perfectly, right? So you can understand the rarity of understanding Krishna, right? So this rarity cannot be achieved by one who's unfortunate to have an animal life. So when you desire to have a next life, don't hold a desire to be born in any species of animal, because it's very unfortunate that they're in a state of living where they cannot think of Krishna, right? So then what's the difference then? Because even Krishna here is saying, in other words, is saying jnanis or yogis, they can maybe think of Krishna at a certain level. They can think of Krishna as the Brahma Jyoti. They can think of Krishna as the Paramatma, but only a devotee can actually think of Krishna in his personal form, like Yashoda Nandana or Partha Sarathi. So Krishna, within his relation with his devotees, that form can be only understood by his devotees. So all of these people, they're thinking that the process of bhakti, whoever is following jnana or yoga, they're thinking that what they are following is actually bhakti. But if they actually try to follow the process of bhakti the way it's supposed to be followed, maybe these people will stop following bhakti, because a person following the process of jnana is attached to the formless form of Krishna. They can't think of Krishna as a person having a form. Or a person who follows the yoga process thinks of Krishna as a Purushottama yoga, as Virata Rupa, the nature, the things that coordinate, things we see around us, the sun, moon. So they still can't picture Krishna as a person who has a personality, a form, qualities of like a supreme Lord. So only a devotee can do that, right? So we are fortunate to be born as a human being, because it gives us a very rare opportunity to be that one among billion who can understand Krishna in perfection, right? So let's understand then, what is perfection? Many of the people who are very have materialistic tendencies, they think that perfection would be, having a great job, or having good education from the topmost university, right? Or having a very nice spouse, married to a wealthy family, or having big houses, cars, or good bank balance, jewelry, wealth. So most people think this is perfection of life till they are exposed to Krishna consciousness, because we break all those, the glass houses they build around them, saying this is perfection, this is all you want to. As soon as they start joining this Gita Gyan classes, when we now tell this is not perfection. So then what is perfection, right? How can a person who is born as a human being achieve that perfection, right? So let's, before that, try to understand, compare the human life and animal life. There are many similarities between each of us. There are four similarities actually. Okay, the first similarity. Can you guess, based on the picture that you're seeing, what is the first similarity?
Eating, Mataji, eating.
Eating. Yes.
Eating.
So we eat every day, 3 times, sometimes 4 times a day. We eat, right? So do animals. So do animals eat. But the only difference is animals are happy eating very basic kind of food. Whatever is served, they could be served on the floor, on the ground, on a plate, broken plate, good plate, whatever they are served in, they eat. Or they eat a food that is directly accessible in nature, right? They don't have to take a lot of tension for their food. Food comes to them eventually. But humans, our eating pattern is a little more sophisticated. We eat in, say, a posh restaurant, right? We pay big bills. We eat with spoons, cutleries, bowls, and we rarely eat natural food. We often eat overcooked, overprocessed food that is sometimes even stale, right? So we are doing the same eating that the animals do, but we are doing a little more glorified form of eating. Do you agree with that?
Yes. Yes, Mataji.
Yes.
Madam.
So
Yes, ma'am.
again, now the difference, animals will never spend money to eat food. But as humans, our biggest expense today is eating food, right? No wonder applications like Swiggy and Zomato are growing in rapid speed, right? Because everyone is spending billions every day just to eat food. But then again, there is a similarity. We both eat. That is our still basic requirement. The difference, however, within that is that we spend a lot of time thinking on what to eat, how to eat, what spices should go into it, what kind of look it should have. So we think about all these details while eating. So first similarity between animal and man is that we eat. Eating is the first similarity. Now the second similarity is based, can you tell me what this is?
Sleeping.
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 Yes. So sleeping is another thing both animals and men do. Animals can sleep anywhere, right? They'll sleep on the floor, they'll sleep in the open, they'll sleep on the road, trees, rocks, wherever they find, they'll just sleep, right? They're not sleep deprived, or they're not going through insomnia saying, I have so much work to do. Tomorrow I have to deliver this. I need to finish that. So they're not even going through that kind of tension. They're just sleeping, right? But humans, again, we also sleep. But again, even our sleep is a little more glorified, unnecessarily glorified, because then when we want to sleep, we want AC rooms. We want the bed to be of a certain contour. The pillow should be of a certain contour. Our curtains in the bedroom should be a certain way, right? So we put a lot of thought process on how to sleep, right? Some even play some, sleeping tunes in the night to make sleep happen. Why? Because our mind is very active. We are constantly thinking, what is the next big thing? Even when we are sleeping, our mind is active. So we don't really go through a perfect sleep pattern. But that's not the case with animals. Animals sleep wherever they get there, without much thinking. But as human beings, we go through a lot of hard work. We spend lakhs on setting up a good bedroom setup. We pay these EMIs for a very long time, and then finally we get to sleep on it like it's ours, right? So that's the difference. So second similarity between animal and human is after eating, it's sleeping. Now, what's the third similarity? I see a lot of family
Mating.
mating. Okay. Yes, the third similarity is mating. Yes. So animals have a lot of children, right? Why? Because they mate. They have children. All of us are gregarious animals. We live in groups, in families. We have a world. We build a world around us with children, spouses, family members. Why? Because human beings are constantly mating to make a world, develop a world around them. But the difference again, animals don't put a lot of hard work to maintain their children, right? But humans have to work very hard. Unfortunately, that's the truth. So we have a tendency to work and earn so much money. We are not limited to working just enough to maintain ourselves. right? We are thinking, how should we collect enough money? It's not just for this lifetime, for my retirement. We don't just stop thinking at that point. We say, I want to leave a legacy behind me. So I need to build a nice house where my family, grandchildren, great grandchildren should be able to live. And they should say that this tata, grandmother, grandfather, they built this house and remember us always like that, right? So we want to leave behind a legacy, right? And in that same extension of building legacy, what do? We buy houses, second property, third property, and then we have these pictures of all these vacations that we go to, memories as we call it. We want to keep building memories of all the different happy times we spent as a family. And then even then, after when we comes to the time of getting our children married, we spend so much to show our luxury to our extended family, because we want to keep that memory in their mind to say that person, what a nice event they had for their family, right? So mating is not a cheap option. While for animals is very cheap, for humans it's a very expensive ordeal. And because of that, we get stuck on with working forever, right? So that's the difference. But both animals do it and both humans do it. We both mate, right? But the implications of mating is much higher for a human being. Do you agree with that thought? You have a difference
Yes,
of opinion?
Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Yes. Okay. Now the final fourth similarity then is
Defending, Mataji.
Competition, Mataji. Fighting.
Fighting.
Yeah, defending, right? The fight animals defend very simply. They use their paws, teeth, fangs, whatever they have naturally, they defend themselves, right? And defending is a very natural tendency for any living being. However, for humans, defending means very expensive. They have to build forts, they have to build atomic bombs, they have to have nuclear plants, they have to have technology innovation such that no other country has it. But the result of such defending is countries are constantly in a state of war, right? Economy is falling, your GDP is falling, jobs are unstable, unrest in the country, such that the anxiety, there's so much building anxiety, tension within the society. There's a trust deficit always, even between neighbors, right? So this is all because each one is trying to protect what is theirs, defending, right? So these are the four similarities: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Similarities between animals and humans. So it boils down to every activity we do then is limited to these four activities. So then, is there no difference between us humans and animals? Is there any difference, right? Is there something that we do that the animals can never do? Don't tell me singing, dancing, because even singing birds can do, right? Animals, peacock can dance, right? Or we can speak, but even animals have their own way of speaking. So that's not the difference I'm talking about. Okay. So what is that humans can do, but animals cannot do?
God conscious. Krishna conscious.
Being conscious. Okay.
Think, eating,
Thinking, Mata.
Thinking. Yes.
the spiritual level.
What was that?
I said the spiritual level. We pray to God, they don't.
Okay,
Yeah.
they pray. They pray. Somebody said thinking. When you think, what happens? What's the next consequence of thinking?
We rationalize.
And
Rationalize. Okay.
Human
Then we
being,
act according to what we think.
animal wouldn't know.
What is good, what is bad.
Okay.
And
The
Okay.
sense of
But
judgment.
what if you're not in a position, you're thinking, but you're not in a position to take that judgment call that this is right or versus wrong? So then what do you do?
The power of questioning.
You ask questions, right?
analyzing.
Analyzing, and then comes questions, right? What is right, what is wrong? Like Narada Muni asked Brahmaji a lot of questions. If you listen to the Kali Santarana Upanishad, he is asking questions like, now that we are in this degraded age of Kali, what is the best way for human deliver? Right? What are the prayers we need to chant? So these are the questions that Narada asked. And then Dhruva is asking, what is those things that I need to do to achieve my goals of life? He's asking Narada Muni, Dhruva Maharaj, right? So these are inquiries, right? This is one thing animals cannot think. They cannot think on what is the higher status than living the life that we are living. What is that higher than this state? So they don't think in that level context, and then they don't ask questions. They cannot ask questions even if they have questions, right? So then the thing that is common is uncommon with the animals is that we can think and ask queries, we can ask questions. Now, within questions also, there can be good questions and they can be irrelevant questions. Do you agree? They can be good questions and they can be irrelevant questions. Let me give you an example. Okay, so let's say there's a child who is seated going on the road with his father, and whole bridal party is passing. Especially in North India, we have people, following a barat with a horse, and big crowd of people following the barat, the groom or the and dancing, singing. So all this is going on. The child is very excited to look at all this chaos on the road, and he's thinking, he's asking his father, what is going on? Why are they dancing? Why are they so happy? What are they telling? Who is that person on that horse? Right? When will I get to sit on the horse? Are you married? Are you married to my mother? So is that how are children born? So these kind of questions went on and on and on, and the father very patiently responded to all these questions. But this child is a very young child, so he can innocently ask any kind of questions, and maybe a parent will very obligingly respond to that question. But as grown-ups, can we ask such kind of questions? Can we ask questions about, something silly like, why that person, why is that car color this color, or why is this the most relevant kind of questions that a grown-up should ask?
No, Mataji, we are all expected to know the answers.
Some answers should be known, but there are still questions a grown-up should have, right? Irrelevant questions, of course, should never be asked. Okay, there's bad questions also, but bad questions also is okay. It's acceptable because then we can correct the thought process and fix it. But irrelevant questions should never be asked, especially to a superior or a guru, something that's completely unrelated to Krishna, right? So, however, unfortunately, most questions that a grown-up is asking, especially in the material world, is somehow connected to these four basic instincts of eating, mating, sleeping, and defending, right? What do I eat? What do I cook? Who should I marry? What kind of family, what qualities should this person have who I'm getting married? How do I sleep better? How much money should I have to retire? Or how do I fund my child education? How to impress a girl, right? Think of these questions. Generally, a person who is constantly asking these questions, like as a human being, that means to say, even though they have this tendency to think higher, they have the intellectual to think at a higher level, they are still limiting their level of inquiry to these four basic facts, right? Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, which also means that we are limiting our thought process. We are not excelling or thinking of something higher than just living this life, right? This also means that our intellect is somehow hijacked because we're constantly thinking of our senses, how to sense gratify, how to make my eyes happy, how to make my nose happy, how to make my tongue happy. So we're constantly thinking of how to make our senses happy, right? There's a nice pastime about Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He spoke about how a circus was set up in a village. He said that this circus was so expensive, like people had to pay high amount of time, and the speciality of this circus was that at a time only one person can enter the circus. They'll show whatever they had to show and send them out, right? So it was pretty expensive. So people had paid big amount. They had lined up outside the circus to see this circus. So one person at a time was sent in. But as soon as the first person entered, they saw 5 bouncers, like hatta katta, people, five of them. And as soon as a person entered, they started beating him up. Right? They beat him up black and blue, and after that, everything, they fixed his hair, fixed his dress, and then they said, if somebody outside asks you, how was the circus, you'll have to give us positive reviews, otherwise we'll come and take care of you. So this man, he stepped outside, and he's also thinking, if I tell everyone that, those people beat me up, he'll be a laughing stock outside. Right? So he said, no, when second person asked, how was the circus? How was the show? He said, it was very nice. You should experience it personally. So the second person goes in. Second person also gets beaten by the 5 people, right? But again, he's thinking, oh, the first person had a very good experience watching the show. It was only I who got beaten. So it's going to be very humiliating again for me to go out and tell everyone that I got beaten. So even he came out of, and then he said, no, everything was great. You should experience it. So one by one, everyone is getting beaten, and each one is not afraid to tell the other that I got beaten. I had a very horrible experience, right? So this way, this 5 people who are beating the person is compared to the senses, the 5 senses, right? Each person, living person, is going through a bad experience. The material life is meant for not giving a pleasurable experience. It's supposed to be a prison for people who have done a lot of karmas, and they are here to face the consequences of those karma. Right? So everyone is getting beaten blue and blue, but black and blue, but everyone is saying, no, it's a great experience. I'm enjoying the material life. Everything is hunky-dory. There's nothing bad about this whole experience. So everyone feels, okay, is that only me that is going through a bad material experience? Am I the only one facing all these challenges that I don't have enough in my bank account. I don't have enough to protect my family. I'm not happy with my wife and children. Nothing is good. So why is that only I am going through this? But the truth is, everyone who's born in this material life is going through those down phase, right? But a devotee knows about it, right? They know that material life is not meant for my enjoyment. I'm here because I have to face some consequences of my past karma, and I have to see these reactions in this life. It's better for me to face these reactions than to pray to Lord and say, please relieve me from all this suffering. Because even if the Lord listens to us and relieves us from the suffering, that means to say we have to take birth again, because we still have to go through the karma, right? We have to what we could have been completed in this life, then we take birth again, and then the pending karma reactions will come back again in another human form or living entity form and go through that reaction. So for a devotee of the Lord, they should not ask, once they should know that these are not why a human being is born, right? To find answers to such questions, or the why of material nature. This is not why a human birth is there, right? Then what kind of questions should a human being ask? Since we have such higher intellectual power than a regular animal, it's not enough that we are just focusing on eating, mating, sleeping, defending. So what kind of intellectual questions should a human being ask? The only questions that a human being should ask is, who am I? Why am I suffering? Who is God? Right? We should focus our whole life just to understand Krishna. We should ask the right kind of questions and get solutions for that, get answers, reach out to a liberated person, a realized person, ask this kind of questions. This is the first sutra of Vedanta Sutra that says Atato Brahma Jignasa. understand the Lord, right? If someone could please read this Srimad Bhagavatam verse translation.
Can I, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji.
Atato Brahma Jijnasa. Srimad Bhagavatam 4.25.5. The first aphorism in the Vedanta Sutra is Atato Brahma Jijnasa. In the human form of life, one should put many questions to himself and to his intelligence. In the various forms of life, lower than human life, the intelligence does not go beyond the range of life's primary necessities, namely eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Dogs, cats, tigers are always busy trying to find something to eat and a place to sleep, trying to defend and have sexual intercourse successfully. In the human form of life, however, one should be intelligent enough to ask what he is, why he has come into the world, what his duty is, who is the supreme controller, what is the difference between dull matter and living and the living entity, etc. There are so many questions, and the persons who is actually intelligent should simply inquire about the supreme source of everything. Atato Brahma Jijnasa.
Jijnasa. So the Vedanta Sutra first verse says, now one should inquire about Brahman, the absolute truth, the transcendental spiritual nature. So this is the absolute success of a human life. When we ask such questions, then you might some way be on the path to get the answer to that question. Right? So Atato Brahma Jijnasa is the only motive of a human life. Can someone please read this verse? You can just read the translation even.
May I, Mataji?
Yes, Sita Mataji. Go ahead.
Both animals and humans share the activities of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. But the special property of the humans is that they are able to engage in spiritual life. Therefore, without spiritual life, humans are on the level of animals.
Right. So this is a verse from Hitopadesha. Okay. So there's a nice pastime that makes sense. Once Brahaspati cursed the king of heaven, Indra, right? Because he did not give the due respect to his guru. He was given the curse to be born as a hog or a pig. And there was, and when Indra realized his mistake, he fell on the feet of his guru and he begged for forgiveness. So the guru said, you'll have to see the consequences of the curse. So you'll have to be born as a pig, but I'll shorten the time duration. So after these many number of years, you can come back and be the king again. So for that many years, Indra, who was living as the king of heaven, filled with so many luxuries, so many, apsaras, so many heavenly dealings going on. So for that many years, he left his throne in heaven and he came down to earth and he was living as a hog. So as time passed, this hog, eventually he met a female hog and they had many babies, and he became the king of all the hogs around. So they built a society, right? So this hog ultimately became so happy living in dirt, eating whatever garbage was thrown around. He forgot about his heavenly existence and just became happy just living his day to day being a hog, right? So to say that even a person in the position of Indra, once he's born in the material planet, they'll instantly forget because of the coverage of Maya. They'll instantly forget about everything that happened in their past life, and they'll become happy in whatever situations. Many people say, I'm very happy in the material world. I have, good family, everything. Some small things happen here, but that's okay. I can be happy in whatever situation. So this is all good. So people try to put a positive twist on the whole material life and say, I'm happy. So eventually his time for the punishment was done. So, but he still didn't want to come back. He continued to live as a hog, such that Brahma himself had to come down, because all the heavenly, business was put on hold without a king, right? So Brahma himself had to come down, and he reminded Indra to say, "Come back. What are you doing? Why are you living as a hog?" But Indra said, "No, no, I'm very happy here. Don't call me for anything else. I just want to live as a pig." Right? I don't know what heaven and whatnot. I don't want to deal with that. I'm happy here. So it said that Brahma had to come and cut off the hog of the head of the hog, so that he was forced to come back to heaven, and only when he came back to heaven, then he realized his life is much more better in heaven versus what he lived as a hog. Right? So that's the state of all of us. Okay, we have come to this material earth, and we're trying to find some kind of peace. We're trying to be a little more settled. We are trying to make things as comfortable as possible. But is that even needed? There is a sage, Lomasha sage. Okay, so this Lomasha sage, he had such a long life. He was older than even Brahma. It said that he had a boon, that this Lomasha sage, depending his one hair on his body will age and fall down when one Brahma dies. So Brahma lives for 311 trillion years. So in 311 trillion years, his one body hair will fall. So like this, if we assume that there are 1 lakh hair in the body of a human being, so this Lomasha Rishi then will live for 311 trillion years multiplied by 1 lakh. So that is the longevity of his life. But despite that, this Lomasha Rishi, he had no material things around him. He used to travel from one universe to the other, and whichever universe he goes, there'll be sages that he'll interact with. They'll ask questions. So he's preaching constantly to the sages. So his life was all about traveling, preaching. So he was a preaching monk with a long life. So once one sage asked him, "You have lived for so long. You have, you're aging now. Shouldn't you now build a small kutira somewhere, settle down, live there forever? Isn't that better for you?" So this Lomasha Rishi says, this whole world, this whole universe is temporary, right? In that, if I start making, such permanent plans, like, I'll settle down here forever, ever, I'll build a kutira, then wouldn't that be the waste of time? The time that I should be thinking of Krishna and thinking of building, constantly focusing on Krishna, I'll be wasting that time. So I don't want to waste my time building, thinking of permanent things to build in this temporary world. So that was Lomasha Rishi. So imagine that Lomasha Rishi, if just Brahma's time is so big for us, 311, and he was living 1 lakh times more than Brahma. And he didn't want to have permanent plans. But we are like few seconds. Human beings are like few seconds in the life of Brahma, right? We can think about these flies. They take birth in 12 hours, they take birth, they mate, they reproduce, they die. By the time you sleep in the night and you wake up in the morning, they're already dead, right? We might be like that for some of the devatas in the higher planet, because we might be just few seconds. By the time they sleep and get up, the human being is dead. But in that few seconds of Brahma's time, what do? We make such extensive plan, have permanent houses, properties, bank balance, jewelry. We make all these plans. So how futile is this whole effort then, right? Instead of spending that few human seconds in thinking about Krishna, we're constantly thinking about how to make our life comfortable in this impermanent world. Right? So we should introspect on that. We should introspect on, is this all really important? Is this what we really have here to do? Because if that's all you want to do, then sure, you can come back. You'll have many lives. Each one of us, we can live for many lives, many billion years, and we can go through this cycle of life and death. But anyone who has a question on what is higher than this human life, how do I go back? Then for such people, Then there are three ways a Vaishnava can attain perfection. Okay. The first method is sadhana siddhi. Sadhana means constantly engaging in devotional service, following rules and regulations. The second method a human being can attain perfection is through the process of nitya siddha. But Nitya Siddha is not, we are not at this level yet, because Nitya Siddha is already perfect. They don't have to follow any rules and regulations. They just have to, they constantly think of Krishna, so already attained perfection. So they are Nitya Siddhas. Every day they are liberated without having to do much, right? The third option then is Kripa Siddha. Kripa Siddha is by the mercy of the Lord, some beings get liberated. For example, Nitya Siddha, we should understand that Nitya Siddha happens, Kripa Siddha happens because of the mercy of the Lord. So if the Lord wants people who have not followed any rules and regulation, he can liberate them without doing anything, right? But that's Kripa Siddha is not something that we should depend on, right? Nitya Siddha is, we are not in that position. Kripa Siddha, we should not depend on that Krishna will be just merciful on me and then we do that, right? Some examples of when Krishna did show Kripa Siddhi, there are a few examples, like when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going through Jharkhand, he said that when he was singing, all the animals around him, animals generally don't dance, right, to kirtan, but all the animals around him started dancing. Other day, when we were talking about disciplic succession, we spoke about how the bull that was serving Madhvacharya, he was reborn as Jaya Tirtha in the next life, and he got liberations or Krishna Bhakti through that process because he was serving Madhvacharya and he was given the job of writing scriptures. So all this is Kripa Siddhi, right? You may not have done all the regulatory processes, but you achieve Kripa Siddhi. There's actually a king, Krithwanga Maharaj. It said that this Krithwanga Maharaj was a very very strong king. He was very popular, and there was once a fight between the kings and the devatas and the demons, and the devatas actually went to Krithwanga Maharaj and asked his help to help them fight this war, right? And this king helped the devatas and they defeated all the demons. So after the war is over, this Maharaj is very tired, Krithwanga Maharaj. He asked, okay, I need to rest. So the devatas want to please him, right? They ask, is there any boon that you want from us? So he says, no, I don't want any boon, but just tell me one thing, how much time is left? How longer will I live? The devatas do some calculation and they say, you just have a moment left to live. In next, after one moment, you'll die, right? So this Krithwanga Maharaj, he had not done any kind of meditation, thinking of the Lord so far, but as soon as he got to know that I just have this one moment left, what he did, he immediately came back to earth. He sat in meditation, and just for a moment he thought about the Lord in full surrender, right? And Krishna delivered him. This is Kripa Siddhi, right? But this kind of fortune doesn't come to every human being. So we should not depend on, Kripa Siddhi to say somehow I'll be fortunate. We should not gamble on such kind of luck. Then what is the best option for us? Our best option is sadhana. Sadhana Siddhi, which is to follow rules and regulations. Whatever rules and regulations that's given by our guru, no meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, and no intoxication. This is our only sure shot way, and chanting our 16 rounds every day. This is the only sure shot way to go back to Godhead. There's no other way. And here, gambling does not just mean gambling with money, it's gambling with our time as well. We gamble every day, every time that we say that, today I'll do one round. Maybe in future, sometime I'll think about doing more rounds. We are gambling on the life that's left with us, right? We are thinking that I have a long life. I'll live forever, and then somehow I'll become more Krishna conscious. that does not work that way. Like we have seen in many, many cases, people these days are dying with no prior notification. Some people are just dropping dead with heart attacks and whatever conditions that, people who think that I'll live a long life, then next day they are gone. The highest death happens in an accident, and all of us are constantly on the road. So why are we betting or gambling that, my life is long, I'll have long period of time to do my 16 rounds, I'll follow regulative? No, you should have the urgency that this has to happen now. The transformation has to start now, right? If that kind of urgency is not there, then you're gambling on your time as well, right? So this is what Krishna is, and many sages have uh, emphasized on this urgency to surrender to Krishna. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, once he was giving a very nice class, he gave the class and he spoke about Krishna, surrender to Krishna. And after the class is over, everyone started leaving, right? And as they were leaving, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur he loudly said, "Don't cheat me." Right? Don't cheat me. All of you have come here saying that I'll surrender to Krishna. You've asked such nice questions, but now you're going back to your lives. You'll forget Krishna immediately. So all the things that you said that you want to surrender to Krishna, then what's the meaning of that? Right? Some of you might say that, okay, I have some few responsibility at home to take care of, right? I'll come back after a few years. So Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is saying, even if that is your case, but even if you're telling me that there's a fire in the next building and it's going to fall into ashes, now the building is going to, and unless you go and personally extinguish the fire, there's no hope. Even if that's the situation, even then, let the world burn, let the building burn. Your focus should be your internal elevation. You should internalize and think, how do I remember lotus feet of Krishna? So there's no emergency in the world, there's no urgency in the world that should take us away from Krishna. Right? So you can see how the acharyas are putting so much emphasis on the urgency of surrendering to Krishna. If you think that, okay, today I'm not ready, but maybe in a couple of months I'll be ready, you're gambling on your lifetime. You're gambling on the fact that will I even live that long, right? So we are gambling on to say that I will live that long, but that's a gamble still. And Krishna is saying, don't gamble. Our acharyas are saying, don't gamble. So, but unconsciously, we are constantly gambling with the time that we have, right? Meat eating is very clear. Illicit sex is very clear. Intoxication is very clear, but this gambling part is what we constantly fail on, right? Even this song called Bhaja Govindam, right? Where Sri Shankaracharya is saying, Balastavat Krida Saktaha, Tarunastavat Taruni Saktaha, Vraddastavat Chinta Saktaha, Pare Brahmani Koapi Na Saktaha. Right? In childhood, we are constantly absorbed in krida, in playing. In youth, we are constantly engrossed in romantic relationship with a taruni or a girl. And in old age, we are constantly worried, anxious. So where is the time then to think about the Supreme Lord? Right? So every guru is saying, don't just wait for a perfect time to start thinking about the Lord. Start thinking of the Lord with urgency right now. There's no good time other than now to start thinking about the Lord. Okay, let's read this screenshot. Anyone?
May I, Mataji?
Yes, go ahead.
Nectar of the Holy Name. Narottama Dasa Thakura sings Hari Hari Viphale Janama Gunainu. My dear Lord Krishna, I have simply wasted my time. Why? Manushya Janma
Paya Radha Krishna na Bhajiya Janiya Shuniya Visha Kainu.
Because I have received the human form of life, which is meant for understanding Krishna, yet I have simply wasted my time by not taking advantage of this opportunity. I have done everything but worship Radha Krishna. Therefore, I have taken poison knowingly. When one takes poison knowingly, he commits suicide. And not taking advantage of the human form is something like that. If we do not understand Krishna in this life, we are knowingly taking poison. This material life is just a blazing forest fire. Eating, sleeping, enjoying sex, and defending are the main material activities. When we are engaged simply in these things, our hearts are always burning as if we had taken poison. How can we be cured? Hare Krishna.
So the more we engage, thank you, Mataji. So the more we engage in these activities of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, the more we are going to go away from Krishna. Okay, so there is no hope for us while engaging in material activities to elevate ourselves. The only way to elevate is then to be aware of Krishna. What does Krishna conscious mean? What does it mean to be Krishna conscious? It means that anything that you do, it could be sleeping, waking, eating, sleeping, walking, working, whatever you do, you're aware of Krishna. You're conscious of what your gurus have told on what rules and regulations one needs to follow. You're always conscious, right? That is Krishna consciousness. It's not just something that, Srila Prabhupada set up and said, this is a society for Krishna consciousness. It's a term, a jargon. No, it's a very living principle of every human life. To be aware of Krishna, every second of your life to be aware. And when you're aware like this of Krishna, there's no way that you can say, okay, today I'll break the rules, but tomorrow I'll be fine, right? Even that 1 second defaulting from what Krishna is expecting from us, knowing that we are here so we can, recoup from all this whole material existence that we are going through. But if you give up that 1 second to say, today I'll enjoy, this 1 second I'll enjoy, you're giving up your opportunity to go back to Krishna. So that choice is with us. The choice of whether you want to surrender to Krishna versus not is with us. And if you make a choice not to surrender to Krishna, is as good as drinking poison knowingly. Okay. And that will keep us constantly in the material cycle of life and death. So as we get to the last part of this discussion, there are 9 ways of surrendering to Krishna or devotion service to Krishna: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. But the easiest and the most common way, the first initial way of surrendering to Krishna is through the process of Shravanam, listening, right? Kirtanam is the next step. As you hear and more about Krishna, then Kirtanam, then you start chanting, you start singing. Even the daily 16 rounds that we do, that's Kirtanam, right? Vishnu Smaranam. And as you focus your mind more on chanting the name, then remembering the Lord becomes easier. Right? Then Pada Sevanam, everything that you do every day at home, cooking for Krishna, or offering light, offering some flowers, decorating Krishna, or the nice, things that you do for Krishna, like perfumes or offering chamara, or, reading about Krishna, coming to classes like this, all that is Pada Sevanam. Okay, Archanam, everything that you do in the altar for praying to the Lord, that's Archanam. Vandanam is for offering obeisances, Dasyam, like a servant constantly thinking of how to serve Krishna, like Hanuman serving Krishna, right? Or like Arjuna serving Krishna. Sakyam, in friendship. These are all elevated stages of serving Krishna. So we should not assume that, we are already in the stage of friendship, or already in the stage of Atma Nivedana. For devotees, especially for us who are still struggling in our day-to-day, how to focus mind, how to think about Krishna every day, the first 2 stages is where we should constantly focus on, try to think more. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, these 3 initial stages is where we need to spend a lot of time to eventually get to the higher stages of devotional service. Okay, so let's watch a small video. Just give me a second, I'll pull up the video.
You've gone to school, grade school, high school, college, and university, and you've learned a lot of things, either in training or have been educated for a career. But have you ever gone to a school that teaches you to be human?
Are you able to hear that?
No, Mataji.
You can't hear? Were you able to hear before?
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay, I'll play from
you've gone
beginning.
to school, grade school, high school, college, and
Yeah, now we
university,
can.
and you've learned a lot of things, either in training or have been educated for a career. But have you ever gone to a school that teaches you to be human? Yeah, I mean that. A school that teaches how to be a human being. Now hold on, you may say, I am a human being. But my answer to that would be, how do you know? How do you know what a human being is? Okay, rather than argue, let's go to the Oxford Dictionary. It says, human being, a man, woman, or child of the species Homo sapiens, distinguished from other animals by superior mental development, power of articulate speech, and upright stance. So, that definition hits the problem on the head. Oxford defines you as an intelligent, upright, articulate animal. Yes, it says humans are a species of animal, but aside from this, there's another wiser definition of a human being. The definition of the Bhagavad Gita, which is the universally accepted authority on yoga and dictionary on human conduct and human personal development. The Gita defines a human being as someone who uses his or her superior intelligence to understand that the purpose of life is self-realization and liberation, and who practices spiritual discipline to attain that topmost liberation. A human being is more than an intelligent animal. So, having heard what a human being is, let's consider what an animal is and turn to the Bhagavad Gita. It defines an animal as a living entity that does 4 things. It eats, sleeps, mates, and defends. So, if education is about training our higher intelligence for a more refined and elaborate kind of eating, sleeping, sex, and defense, then we remain nothing else than refined animals. Not humans, but sophisticated animals. Animals with skirts, suits, and ties, animals with mobile phones and airplanes, animals with atom bombs and rock and roll, and animals who have sex in high-rise buildings, but animals nonetheless. And education that does not teach the science of self-realization is education for an elaborate animal existence. Dear watcher, it's a travesty that humans, in the name of education, have been systematically degraded to the stature of animals. It's unfortunate, but true. It's here in the Oxford Dictionary. So, what is human schooling? The education to be a human is the education that teaches us how to distinguish matter from spirit, to identify ourselves as spiritual beings, completely distinct from our bodies, which are really like clothes covering the soul. Human education is about understanding how we have become degraded to the level of animals, and how we are bound in a world where we struggle for just a meager existence. How did we come to this humiliating condition? And how can we free ourselves from bondage? By following the science of Bhakti Yoga, by chanting the mantra of deliverance, and by living in a way that we are free of karma, not bound by it. Yes, that is the education that teaches us not about eating, sleeping, mating, and defense, but about self-realization. How can you avail yourself of such education? Right now I'm here in Krishna Valley and hungry. This is the place to receive such an education. Other than self-sufficiency, more important than self-sufficiency, we teach self-realization. And I understand perfectly well that you may not be able to come here. Then for you, I suggest our home study guide. This course is afforded by reading the Bhagavad Gita. It is the primary textbook that we use. It contains the original text translated, and for further guidance, elaborate explanatory notes by my self-realized guru. Unfortunately, you probably didn't get this knowledge at school. Make up at home for what you missed at school. Learn from the Bhagavad Gita. You will realize for yourself what real education means.
Jai. Okay. Can I request everyone to be on video? So let's talk a bit about what we heard today, right? What are your realizations? I know some topics must have hit hard, but what is your realizations at the end of this session?
Mataji, we have to use our superior intelligence. Yeah, that is a science of self-realization.
Mm-hmm.
And our basic education, like what he said, was the matter and spirit.
Yep.
What we learn. Yeah. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Is there any transformation you see yourself making in what you're doing today to further enable that realization? Because realizations can happen. You can have realization, forget it the next day. But what makes a difference is what change you're going to take back after that realization. Otherwise, the impact of that realization is nothing.
Mataji, for me, the takeaway would be to be more disciplined, in chanting the names of Krishna.
Yes.
And also ensuring that the japa, the committed rounds of japa happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I read one scripture, at least one shloka in any scripture that I want, or at least one shloka a day.
Try to remember Krishna.
Yeah, trying to remember Krishna through some scripture. That is my takeaway.
Okay,
because the education has not done any good. I was just reflecting back on the video that was shared.
Mm-hmm.
What I studied, what I worked, and what I'm doing right now is completely disconnected.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
Why not as well go on this path and go to work towards a better
you know what
afterlife.
has already not worked, so why not do something that we have never tried?
Absolutely. That's going to be my takeaway.
Good. Somebody's asking for the video on WhatsApp group. I'm putting the link for you. Hope that works. Just let me know. Okay, any other realizations?
I think we have to habituate our kids into Bhagavad Gita at an early stage.
Very early stage. Don't wait for, let them enjoy life now.
Yes.
All these things will happen. No, that's not the early, the better.
Very. I mean, I know that they've already missed and they should catch up soon.
Yes.
Because I anyway doesn't cover.
Yes. We are very unfortunate, I guess, especially me, because through my early ages of growing, I grew in a family that prayed a lot to Lord Shiva, Mother Kali. And we had a lot of temples in our neighborhood because I come from Mangalore, and there's a lot of Kali worship, Shiva worship. But never, I used to go to the temples, but never was I told why, like why Shiva, why Kali, why not this god or that god. To the point it became like a very monotonous, do this, this is good. And even I didn't have the intelligence back then to ask questions. And when I got the intelligence to ask questions, um, most parents, as usual, would say, this is the right thing to do, just follow it, right? That's how it is in most households. But parents who are well read, or at least we are now awakening as a Hindu society to start reading scriptures to understand. So parents, once they start educating themselves, then they enable the education of their kids as well. So if you have missed the boat earlier, like me, make sure you start studying with full honesty, because you already have lost so much life. You've got a shorter span, and don't make the same mistake with your children. Like Sunita Mataji said, start early, right? I have an aunt. Okay, whole life she has children are very well off, educated, settled abroad. One fine day, I keep telling her about all my travels to different dhams, yatra. She said, "Okay, now my children are married, everybody is well settled. Now, my legal name is Jwalna." She said, "Now from Jwalna, I'll come to every yatra that you go. Right? This you will all enjoy together." I said, "Great, some motivation." But as soon as she said that, next thing she knows that she's admitted in the hospital. She is going through some surgery. Then her husband went through some other thing. So the cycle went on to the point that we may have gone through one yatra together and never after. Right? So don't put these mental deadlines in your head from this age, from this time, I'll start doing serious study, because you'd never know what the plans of Krishna. If you don't have that surrender till a certain point already, then that surrender will never come 100% as you age or grow older in life. Right? So that surrender, and surrender does not just come, it has to be practiced through the
It's very
process of
true.
sadhana.
And what you're saying, I've seen this with many. They really want to do after all their commitments. They're not in a position to do it, to
Yes.
go visit. So you'll have to really push yourself at early stage. I mean, what you say, I mean, I have seen it all. Sometimes I fear for myself also. Like, I feel I have so much to, visit temples. I don't know. I already feel I'm late.
That's okay. That's okay. Now that you know your bodily limitations, don't push yourself to that, because maybe for some that boat is already sailed. But what you can still do, like Shivaram Swami Maharaj just mentioned, is read Bhagavad Gita, understand, absorb it fully. Right? Yes. Any other thoughts?
Mataji, I'm just facilitating Bhagavad Gita book to all rural students, Mataji.
Oh, you did? Okay, very
Yes,
nice,
I'm
Mataji.
supporting. I did this Sankalpa from January 2025 onwards.
So who is teaching them?
Teaching is my teacher colleagues who are residing in their own schools.
Okay.
And I just suggested them, if they want, they can take online coaching also from the ISKCON devotees.
Yes.
And like that, I have a link with 50 school teachers, and monthly I'm just supporting 5 Bhagavad Gita books on charity basis to all rural students.
Charity is good, Mataji, but just a word of caution, because sometimes when you give Bhagavad Gita to the hands of a person who does not know the value of Bhagavad Gita, then what happens is they just throw it in some corner. The importance is lost, right? So while you're distributing, it also becomes a responsibility then to educate them on what is this precious thing that you're giving them. Why is it that important? Otherwise, sometimes later you'll see this book given to some Gujri guy. He is by kgs dealing with that book, right? So very important. Charity is good, and you're doing a very nice job giving the Bhagavad Gita, but also make it a point to spread this knowledge in the right way, right? The people who are talking about Bhagavad Gita should be read enough at least to talk exactly what the book is telling them.
It's very important.
As a reward for only deserved students, those who are academically well trained, and they are teaching the other students. They're not affordable to buy, and their
yes, that's okay. That's okay. The point is still the same. They could be academically very intelligent, but while teaching Bhagavad Gita, you should come from a source who understands this knowledge. Otherwise, that parampara of passing on knowledge is broken at some point. Okay, Jay.
Yes. I have to connect that also.
Yes.
Yes, Mataji, it's my experience too. I bought Bhagavad Gita almost 15 years back. I thought, I mean, when I read through, I could understand in bits. Then I bought a short form, like, maybe in smaller, you have this, what do you say, Bhagavad Gita in one line, two line, and on a short line. Even then, I couldn't understand. I just feel a spiritual teacher is a must to understand it. Otherwise, you have your own interpretations, and that may not be.
Absolutely. Good understanding, Mataji.
Mataji, I have one experience to share. So last month or so, I went with my Kantimala to a family, not a family function. It's more of Krishna and Rukmini's wedding. Okay, they do that, in one of my places, and everybody asked me, why at such a young age you're wearing Kantimala? Okay, I said, listen, I was very frank with them. I was right up to their face. I don't know if I was being rude, but then I told them, listen, at your age, you are not able to do this. At my age, at least I'm able to say the name of Krishna. So why not?
What was the age of Prahlada? What was the age of Dhruva?
Exactly. I told them there is no age to spirituality. The faster you realize, the better for you. A lot of the societies are still under the misconception of there is an age for spirituality.
That's the biggest misconception we constantly have to deal with. And many people think once I become old, once I've retired in life, then I'll start focusing on this. But when you are at that age, your bodily imbalances are such that even to sit straight and focus, you have to struggle.
It's all because of education.
Yes.
Mataji,
So where is the strength then to focus on some intense topic like this and understand, because your perceptions, you're already going through all these things of how you lived your life. Your impressions are very strongly made in your head. Now to undo all that impressions and now say, okay, now what I lived so far was not the right way, but at least let me transform. That transformation doesn't happen when everything is settled, confirmed. It has to happen at a very young age.
In corporate life, they say, you have to, when you move from one organization to another, you have to unlearn certain things and relearn.
Yes.
Okay, but the real unlearning and relearning is like what that Prabhuji said in the video, unlearning what the society has taught us and learn what Bhagwan has taught, has been teaching us for so many millions of years.
Yes.
And that is the huge challenge, because Striyo Vaishyas Tata Sudras, okay, I had a question about this. I banged my head against it. I said, why women are being treated low? But then I realized that they were generally referring, and then somebody explained the context to me, and then I understood it better. Now I don't have it in my heart, that kind of a thing. So there is so much to understand from so many different perspectives. People are losing out on that.
Yes. Okay. We're almost coming to the end of the session. Does anyone have any final thoughts? All the silent Matajis, Prabhujis who have never said anything.
Yes. Mataji, I have a small doubt.
Okay.
I was doing this japa. So that time one acharya came and he told me, you do the japa in upamshu way, not in the vachika way. And then he explained me what is vachika japa, what is upamshu japa. I just need a clarification on this.
You don't have to worry about all these things. Just do the japa like we do in the class, Prabhuji.
Okay.
If you keep going to different schools of different sampradayas, each one has their way. But since you have started studying from Srila Prabhupada, just do it the way Srila Prabhupada, because Srila Prabhupada, you have accepted Srila Prabhupada as your Mula Guru within this ISKCON Sampradaya. He's taken responsibility of you. Right? You don't have to follow what this acharya said, that acharya. You simply have to blindly, like a child follows the mother everywhere, simply put full responsibility on Srila Prabhupada and do exactly what he's doing.
Okay, thank you.
Right? Because ultimately Srila Prabhupada is responsible now because we are following him. He is responsible for our delivery.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Mataji, I have one small doubt.
Yes, Anita Mataji.
So, I am actually looking to wear tulsi kanthi. So, and at the same time, I am also having a onion garlic.
Okay.
I'm vegetarian. I do not have a non-veg,
Yes.
but in the
Once
family,
you wear the kanti, you'll have to give up onion, garlic, tea, coffee. You have to be
yeah,
strict with your 4 regulations, because remember, Tulsi is a devotee of the Lord. Right? She's
but
constantly in
Mataji,
the service of the Lord. So while we engage her in purifying ourselves, why do we put tulsi in the plate of leaf that we offer to Krishna? Because we are filled with so many shortcomings. Our brain is not thinking right. Our senses are not working right. Despite that, we put some effort. We make prasadam. So whatever sins, imperfections are there in the boga that we have offered, Tulsi Devi is removing all that imperfections and making it acceptable for Krishna to receive. That's why you put a Tulsi on the Boga plate. Similarly, when you wear this Tulsi Mala, it means that you are doing whatever you can to serve Krishna with all your imperfections. Right? So having this Tulsi in your neck, she's purifying that whole devotional service that you're doing. But at the same time, because she's a devotee of the Lord herself, we should not be obstruction in her service to the Lord. You see
okay,
the
Mataji.
connect? So
Yeah.
once you wear this tulsi, make sure you come to a stage where you give up anything that is not in line with the 4 regulations.
Mataji, in family, if we have that, because it's not like everyone can left that, right? In family, maybe we have to feed, or if we're going to office, so maybe sometimes we have to
Yes.
have that.
Yes.
We
But
don't feel-
if you have decided to be Krishna conscious and you're not going to have onion garlic from, then you can wear your kanti. But if you're still having onion garlic, then avoid the kanti mala.
Okay, Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So some point, let's pray to Krishna that you are, at least, if not your whole family, at least it's like, when you're, let's say in a plane that's crashing, right? What is the instruction given? Forget about your neighbor. Neighbor could be your family, whoever, spouse, children. First, focus on yourself, get the air mask on yourself, and then try to help your neighbor. So we are in this material world, crashing plane, right? So we should try to focus on protecting ourselves first. If you keep eating onion, garlic, and non-veg because your family is eating, then it does not make sense, because you're going to crash with the whole flight. So at least try to protect yourself while you can. Everyone comes with your own cycle of karma, right? You can do your best to bring them to Krishna consciousness, but if your Krishna consciousness is not at a level where you can save yourself, then you have to keep coming back so many times to do the same thing again and again. It's like chewing the chewed. So do what you can do best, is save yourself at least. And hopefully by your example, your family will also follow.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Jay, we'll end our session for today. Thank you for the very interactive session. I hope it was beneficial. It made some value add to your life. So we'll end it here. Next session, today is Wednesday, which is on Monday. We'll go back to chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyo eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna Mataji. Dandavat Pranam to everybody assembled. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.